All right, so we left off with creating two animation keys for this heavy lift. The first one was him standing, and then at frame 10, him actually getting the ball, or put at least getting his hands on the ball. And then this is the point where we're actually going to set up the connections so that he can we can complete the animation. So the way that we're going to make this a lot easier is we're going to constrain both hands to the ball, and that way what we're doing at that point is just animating the ball, and the hands kind of go with it. So we kind of get some animation for free, and you guys will see the power of that here in a little bit. So just like we did with the objects before, like when we were doing swords, we're going to do the exact same thing, but in reverse order. So prior to, we had selected the controls and then the ball, because we wanted the ball, we selected the controls and then the weapon. But here we're going to do it just the opposite. So we're going to select the ball, and I'm actually going to set a keyframe here for the ball on frame 10. So I'm going to select the ball. I'm going to shift select the hand control. Then I'm going to go up, make sure that you are on animation or rigging, and you can hit constrain parent, and then making sure that maintain offset is selected, set layer to override, translate, rotate, all that stuff should be fine. So then you click OK. So now what happens is if you've done that correctly, you will see when you select the wrist control, you'll see this little additional attribute down here called blend parent 1. This is what controls how connected the wrist control is to the ball. So now if I go in and I select this ball and I move it, you can see that the wrist goes with it, which is exactly what you want. So now we're going to do that with the other hand. I'm going to select the ball, shift select the wrist control, and then I can hit G because that's the last thing that I did. So I'm going to hit G, and you can see now if I select the wrist control, blend parent 1 is in there. So now when I select the ball, both hands go with it, which is great. But if you scroll back, you see now you've kind of lost what you've done with your hands. So you have to fix that. So for this key, this is the key in which uh, the hands actually, or I should say the ball starts controlling the hands. So I'm going to select both wrist controls, and I'm going to select this channel, right click and say key selected, and then I'm going to leave that to 1. But prior to that, the ball shouldn't have any influence on the wrist, right? Because this is where we have our animations. So I'm going to go 1 frame back, right? I'm going to select the channel again, hit key selected, and then I'm going to go in and I'm going to change that to 0. And you can see the wrist snap a little bit. So now what I've got is, before that, the wrists now do what they are supposed to do. And then it's only on keyframe 10 is where, so like if I move it back to frame 5 and I select the ball and move it, you can see it no longer affects the hands. If I go to frame 9, it no longer affects the hands, which is great. If I select 10, now it selects, now the ball controls the hands, which is great. So now I'm going to go to frame, let's see, that was frame 10. Let's just say 20. And what I'm going to do is now I'm going to animate him trying to lift this this ball. So I've rotated and the if those gizmos get in your way, you can just hit the function. I'm sorry, for me it's function, but it's not for you guys probably. Just hit the insert key. Is it function minus? Yeah, function minus function plus to make it bigger or smaller. And now I forgot where I've selected, so I'm going to go back and shift select these things. And I'm going to just rotate them. And then just do a little bit of tweaks here. That might be a bit much. But you know, as we say, right? Keep going till you break it. I think I got a little room to break it here. And put it there. And I'm going to rotate this forward quite a bit. I'll see, I want to move it. So you do something and you think, yeah, that's the way to do it. And then it's like, meh, not so much. So now in frame 20, I'm going to, again, select all the keys that I like to make sure have proper keyframes. Hit S to make sure that they are set properly. Down, I can actually use the ball here. And you notice I didn't do anything with the hands. And that's because I know at this point that the ball controls them. So now when I move the ball up, now here, since I want to portray the ball as being very heavy, I want those arms to kind of be locked out. And the other cool thing is that you can actually like rotate the ball. So you can kind of just get it into place a little bit. There you go. And I'll just move this out a little bit. And maybe, whoops, sorry. And then I'll just make sure I don't have any keyframes there on 21 that I didn't want. I think this could go back a little bit. So, I mean, that's kind of how you do it. Pretty straightforward. And if you wanted him to set it back down, he could do that. Now, if I play this, oh boy, that's zooming along, isn't it? Let me go into my settings here really quick. Every frame, other 30. Let's see if that helps any. So one of the things you're going to notice is that even once you kind of get it down to 30 frames, the question then becomes you start asking yourself these questions about some of your principles. He's not terribly symmetrical, which is fine. I have so I kind of have a neutral pose here. I've got a very strong line of action here, and then I've got sort of the reverse line of action here where he's trying to pick this ball up. And I think I could probably straighten this out a little bit more. There we go. So the problem that you've got here is that when you play the animation, it doesn't look very heavy, and that's because the timing for the animation is off. Now initially, I kind of assumed it would probably be around 90 frames. So I'm going to just kind of bump this to 60. I'm going to select the body, and I'm going to select the ball, and I'm going to shift select that key, and I'm going to move it all the way back to 40. So let's see what happens now. See, now suddenly it looks a lot heavier. So let's see what happens when I move it again, maybe to 50. Oh yeah, that looks really heavy. I mean, there's tweaking that needs to happen, but the ball looks a lot heavier. Here's the interesting thing too, is that it looks a little bit like so the ball. The reason is the ball is still traveling a little bit. That's a that's probably a uh, what's the word I'm looking for? A function curve issue in the graph editor. So, but again, there's these tweaks. But this is what I'm talking about as far as timing goes. You kind of have to just really start off with the basics and fix things. Fix the basic stuff first before you start going into the tweaks. I mean, I would even say that you could probably make this even, more exaggerated uh, by maybe moving this to 60. So, and if you play that now, right? And you probably want to do other things like, having him shift his weight, and I mean, there's a lot of other stuff that you probably want to do to add some character to the motion. But as far as just kind of getting that core concept down of what lifting a heavy object or what's involved in lifting a heavy object, I think this really kind of should at least get you off the ground so that you can start putting some of the creative touches on your work. But in any case, that's it. If you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to me through IM. Thanks a lot, everybody, and good luck with your assignment.